Hello. So I'm going to try to just offer you ideas and some of the most recent work that I'm doing to carry on the conversation. I'm going to try not to talk too much and to try and give you some of the substantive detail, but also talk with you about the tools for thinking about the situation so that we can have a conceptual and a substantive conversation. So I've called my talk Pursuing Fairness, Prosperity and Democracy. I've changed it because I'll tell you why the title's changed in a second. Pursuing Fairness, Prosperity and Democracy in a Superdiverse, Supercomplex and Disassembled City. And I guess the notion of the disassembled city starts to flag that I've been using Deleuze's idea of assemblages to try and think about what's going on. And to see if that helps me think better about the situation that I'm looking at. So the pursuit of fairness, prosperity and democracy, apart from being something that I'm sure that we're all willing to sign up to at a straightforward level, are the key priorities of the Birmingham City Council. Birmingham is the city which the university that I'm in situated in. It has about 1.2 million inhabitants. And it's the second largest city in the UK. And on various indices, it demonstrates massive diversity of population. It has some of the highest levels of unemployment, and we can talk a bit more about the city as we go along. So the leader of the elected leader of the city has a leader's policy statement each year, and the leader's policy statement identifies the pursuit of fairness, prosperity, and it was localism in 2012, but in 2013 it's democracy. So that's where that change came from. We can have a quick look at what he says those things are, because of course they are profoundly open to contestation, what that means and whether they are whether they can sit together. So my engagement in the city is a result of my leadership of the Public Service Academy. So the University of Birmingham it's a elite university. It's one of the main research institutes in the UK, I've been there 18 months, and as I understand the university, it was established as a civic university. Its initial statements of purpose identify it as a civic university, but because of the nature of elite universities, it has not been a university that is of the city, and people talk about it being in the city, not of the city. So these are the narratives about the university that I've inherited as I've gone to work there, and what it wants to do is change that. And on the one hand, it wants to change that because it wants to, return to its civic mission. It wants to be more engaged, and all these kind of very laudable reasons. And the other thing is that the research funding mechanisms in the UK have introduced an impact factor. So they don't just count the quality of the number of your 4-star rated publications. They also count the impact that they have. And so suddenly, elite universities that can produce lots of 4-star publications also have to get that extra slice. And it isn't the major indices for funding, but to get that extra slice of money, you also have to show your impact. So for those of us who want to be politically and socially engaged scholars, I think it's actually a really good thing. There's another conversation about what counts as impact, and of course that can be as constraining as it not being there at all. But there is a potential for me in the impact agenda to do some much more applied work and do it in a way that is that's being supported by the university rather than underneath the university's radar. So they have established the Public Service Academy, and the university executive has funded it. They fund me, they fund an administrator. We have a small pot of money to do research projects. The idea isn't that we are a research centre or a consultancy. We're not income generation. There are lots of other people in the university that do income generation, and I'm holding on tightly to the idea that if we become an income generation site, we're just in competition with our colleagues who are already doing these things. The point of the Public Service Academy is that we bring together all of the research that colleagues are already doing on major long-term research programmes, and we put it together. We put it together in ways that it probably wouldn't be put together without us, and we get it quickly to organisations involved in public service in various ways. Now, the City of Birmingham loves this, there is a sort of a strange alchemy that I'm not quite, haven't quite understood, which makes the city want to engage with us, and they're incredibly open to us. So I took over the Public Service Academy, just to be clear. It's been running a year and a half. I took over in August of this year, and so my first job, I felt, was just to go and meet lots of people in the City Council, elected and civil servants, and also other key agencies, so some of the major voluntary agencies that I knew were engaged in the city. And so I've been trying to cultivate relationships, and actually that relationship cultivation has worked really well, terrifyingly well. Part of why they want to work with the Public Service Academy so much, I think, is because of the situation that they find themselves in. In a different economic and political climate, they may be less open to this partnership, but at the moment I think that they feel they need us. So at the inception, we established, so I wasn't engaged in establishing these themes, but we established these key themes that were going to guide the work that the Public Service Academy did with the City Council, and with the agencies with whom the City Council partnered. So, and the themes are cohesion, health and well-being, localisation, and a social work academy. The first two are themes which echo central government policy initiatives, so they're kind of obvious in the UK context for that reason. Localisation is an agenda that the elected leader of the council is deeply committed to, and we can talk more about that. But what it turns into is a strange movement between a very centralised devolution model, which is about saving money, which is still very centrist, the kind of centralising decentralisation that we read about in the policy scholarship. And in other moments, it's about community development, it's about community-led local democracy, it's about passing control out from the centre to localities, it's about neighbourhoods, not about electoral wards. And there's this kind of sense of possibility in the localism agenda at times, and the question of the different timeframes that are running in this in the city and in the work that we're trying to do with the city is evident. The Social Work Academy is, in a sense, it has its own life. The university prepares lots of the social workers that work in the city. The city has in terms of government inspection and government assessment, they have a terrible social work track record in relation to safeguarding children. They're currently being really lots and lots of really bad press, driven by the inspection agency and the media. And again, we can park that and come back to it, but Birmingham is at the epicentre of a discourse where social workers are responsible for the deaths of children in unsupported homes, and there'll be a key case that gets lots and lots of media attention. And the way in which that gets constructed and the way in which that gets located as in the person of the Director of Children's Services, frankly, was the absence of support for families and the poverty in which families live gets completely left out of the conversation. So we have this social work academy, which is about really working with Birmingham post-qualifying. So we qualify all these social workers, and the university wants to continue to work with social work and social workers. So early and middle management is where that's focused, and in professional development work, really. Okay, so I'll try and speed up because I'm going to talk for too long. So we've got a number of projects running. One is a Research Council funded project called the 21st Century Public Servant. A team is working with human resources at Birmingham, but also in Suffolk, which is a county council, very different sort of locale, but they're really interested in the PSA's work. And it's about, they're looking at what does a public servant in the 21st century, what skills do they need? It's very pragmatic, it's responding to the tremendous changes to public service within the central government policy is pushing through. I fear that it risks being part of, or at least being accused of being part of, deprofessionalising moves. That's certainly not what the project team want to do, but as we look at multi-skilled, interdisciplinary workers, what we also confront is the disappearance of youth workers and the disappearance of, probably won't be social workers, but some social workers. And what does it mean? How do we have agile workers who can work across disciplinary areas, but who don't feel like their professional identities have not only been taken away from them, but have been pilloried in that process? So the Future Council, well, I'm skipping what I'm going to come back. The Future Council work is the key piece of work that we're doing, which is driven by the needs of the city. So the city is facing the estimate, the number varies. It's not that I don't know it, it's that the number keeps changing. So they're facing between a £500 and £600 million funding shortfall by the financial year 16-17. So the leader of the city talks about the jaws of doom, and he has a graph where here's the pressure on services goes like this, and the central government funding goes like that, and this is the jaws of doom where there just isn't the money to deliver the services that they've been either delivering or contracting. And these are cuts in a context which has already been massively privatised. So already the city is very much acting as a commissioner of services, that kind of steering at a distance that all the sort of meta-governance literature would talk about. They're already doing that. They've already done lots of ceasing services and moving to commissioning services, withdrawing from services which are non-essential and not statutory requirements. What they're looking at right now, at this very moment, they have got to present by the 1st of December, they have to present to consultation a budget for the city which is £160 million short, less than the one they had last year. So they have to tell the city, the citizenry, what they are not doing in the year 14-15. That has to go to central government for approval. It has to be a safe budget. That is, they can't say, stuff it, we're going to overspend. They are required. And this is not just Birmingham, this is every city in the UK, not Scotland, to the same extent. But so all cities are looking at these funding shortfalls. The pressure on Birmingham is particularly great because they have a massively growing population. There are significant central population growth. So they have to give to government a safe budget, that is a budget which obeys the shortfall that the government has told them that they're going to have. So between the 1st of December and middle of February really is the time when the citizenry can say what they think of that budget. The Public Service Academy were asked about September, after I'd been having some of the initial meetings, was asked to contribute to the process. So what they're saying is, on the one hand, the leader says, this is Armageddon for local government, this is Armageddon for public services, this is the end of local government as we know it, this is the end of the welfare state as we know it. And he says those things publicly and it gets reported in the press. At the same time, he says, we aren't just going to let this be the destruction of the city, we're going to reinvent the city. We're going to have a new city. We're going to have a future council. And they came to the Public Service Academy and said, help us design our future council, bearing in mind that we're going to have, in real terms, 500 or 600 million pounds less to spend by the end of this funding, by the end of 17. That's 50% of their spend. And somebody asked me this earlier in the week, and I said it's 50% of the spend. I said it's 46% of the spend, and then they looked at me aghast, and I was like, well, maybe I'm wrong. And so I went back to all of the spreadsheets that they've given me, and it is depending on how the figures are working, so it ranges between 46 and 50% of their total controllable budget that is not going to be there. So they say to the Public Service Academy, what shall we do? And of course, there's a madness about this, a complete madness about this. And I oscillate between this is an incredible opportunity to work in partnership with a council that's committed to public services, and it's also bound to fail, right? How can this possibly not go badly, really, really badly? And part of the reason it goes so badly is because, and this is where the thinking in terms of assemblages comes in. The other project that I've initiated with colleagues has been this project that's looking to map a public service assemblage. My hope was we could bring together people with expertise in different areas of public service, and between us pool all of the kind of the fine detail of our knowledge about the economics, funding streams, the different sorts of grants, the contracting processes, what the effects have been of the most recent policy moves, what are the legislative frameworks that different areas are working in, what are our common legislative frameworks, how does it connect to Europe, and then what are the services on the ground, where are people doing empirical studies, and we can bring this together, and we can start to say, this is the public service assemblage that we are working in and trying to navigate, and that would give us a much more powerful conceptual framing for then helping the city think about what they do. But academic time and the city's time, they're just not working on the same time frame. So what we've started to try and do was map some service area, sort of some digests across different service areas, using Deleuzian thinking about the assemblage, what would be the components and what would be the productive relationships between those components within assemblages of particular services, and then how do they relate together? What are the productive forces as they relate together? In all of this, my sense is that what we're seeing is disassembly. We're seeing assembly, but we're also seeing disassembly. There are the voids that seem to be opening up. It's spinning so quickly, the empty spaces, and so which is what leads me to start thinking about the city as disassembled. I was going to talk to you a bit about the particularities of central government policy. I think maybe the one thing that's worth pointing out, and then let me open up to people to conversation, is that while central government is absolutely committed to austerity and cuts and everyth's about the deficit, they're absolutely committed to that, and the forms of privatisation that we've been seeing are just cranked up, and we can talk about what that ends up looking like. But they've also turned to they've turned back to the citizen, and in a way which is, in a sense, kind of old school liberal. The free individual must help him or herself. So they've had this platform of the big society, which kind of comes and goes, and I've seen it less in central government policy rhetoric in the last year than it had been. And without taking up the language of the big society, the city has taken up the language of the community, language of co-production, language of assets-based service delivery. And while my assessment would be that there is a genuine commitment to the community and to recognising what the community can do, in engaging with the community, there is still a quite old school representative democracy model. So engaging with the community too often slips into engaging with elected representatives at the level of a district or ward. It's much less kind of thick democracy with a local community. I think the idea of co-production is genuinely of interest for reasons about empowerment and asking people what do they need, not here's our cumbersome service that we've always delivered. However, there's that £500 or £600 million, and actually what's happening is that the city is ending up looking to the citizen to do £600 million worth of stuff that it can't do anymore. Yeah, right. And when they talk about the community, what they're what they struggle to engage with really is that, I use the term superdiversity. There is a centre, there's an institute research into superdiversity within the college that I'm a part of, led by Jenny Phillimore, and they're doing lots of research on the diversity, the particular diversity of Birmingham. And their point about superdiversity, I hadn't really come across the notion before, and I'm a bit uncomfortable with it, but their point is that there are forms of diversity in Birmingham and cities like it that are unprecedented. So up to 130, 140, 150 different ethnic backgrounds within a single ward. Massive high-speed change of population, and also massive dispersal of communities. So the sorts of minority communities that kind of traditionally I'm certainly used to thinking about within cities that are a community or where a community grows seem to not be the picture in new communities, amongst new migrants into Birmingham. Birmingham's also a place where people seeking asylum are placed. So their people are not necessarily going where they want to go; they're going where they're sent. And so what the Institute for Research into Superdiversity is saying is that this raises issues about how we support people in a super diverse situation where we can't assume that they're being received by a community. So let me go. I'm going to stop. Let me go back to the leader's policy statement. He wants fairness, and he wants prosperity, and he wants democracy in a city that's facing £600 million funding shortfall, and where there is a massive diversity of people that we can't assume in any straightforward way are members of the communities that the city is looking to help themselves.